I'd like to call this January 22nd, 2026 Board of Education regular meeting to order. George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Here.
Ms. Hafner?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Wall?
Here.
Mrs. Hausum?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. If we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Next on the agenda are our strategic priorities. Our district has developed and is currently engaged in a 3-year strategic plan which reflects the values, beliefs, and hopes of our students, staff, parents, and community. There are 4 strategic priorities to the plan: transforming teaching and learning, aligning staff and resources, cultivating culture and climate, and leveraging funding and facilities. Our strategic priorities give actionable focus to our district's purpose and mission and guide the work of our strategic plan. Next, we do have some agenda changes. The following changes were made to the agenda. Addition of action item under Section H, Superintendent, Item 4, Communication Firm Selection. Addition of action item under Section M, Human Resources, Item 1, Leadership Resignation. Addition of action item under Section M, Human Resources, Item 2, Leadership Separation Agreement. Next, we have Board of Education Other. We are going to have a discussion on school safety. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Ryba.
Thank you, Ms. Hausum. At this time, I'm going to ask our high school principal, Bill Wingler, and our chief of police, Tom Odines, to join me at the tables up here. So we wanted to have a discussion with the board, and I want to thank Bill and the chief for being with us tonight to go over the incident that happened on January 9th and the partnership that we've had for countless years and continue to have to ensure a safe community and a safe school district for our kids and our staff. And so as we take a look at it, I just want to share on behalf of the board that this was an extremely serious situation that we had. I've been doing this for 27 years now, and this ranks up there as one of the most serious situations that I've had in my career. I always take a look at any safety situation, not only through the lens of an administrator and as a superintendent, but also through the lens of a father and a community member, and what it would be like and what I may be feeling or thinking if I'm somebody that's not in the know of all of the details, like the chief is, like Bill is, and like some of our administrative team is. And so we took this incident very seriously, and our team at the high school did a phenomenal job in collaboration with the police department to address it. And one of the things that I want to assure the board, our staff, and our community is that as we went through this investigation, and Mr. Wingler shortly will go over all of the details of what happened, but as we went through this investigation, I want to assure everybody that there was never a threat of violence, there was never an intent to do harm, which I think is an important component of this. It doesn't change the severity that we had a weapon. We had an airsoft gun and a 9mm gun on our property, but there was no threat. There was no threat to do harm or any violence on our property. You know, the other part that was shared or that is always on people's mind is, well, what happens, right? A student brought a gun on the property. What happens? And Cameron, what are you as superintendent, or what is the school district going to do about it? And the state of Ohio has been very clear that it's really a law. It's not a superintendent's decision. The law clearly states that if a weapon is brought on property, that a student will be expelled for a school year or 180 school days. And then there's rehabilitation criteria that could extend that, if not meant, up to 90 days. There's also law that states if that student is 16 years old or or older, that the district may seek permanent exclusion. That not only means the student can't attend school in Strongsville City Schools, but can't attend school anywhere in the state of Ohio. And so as we take a look at how the district will handle that, the district will handle it based on what the law says that we have to do, and so that's the manner we'll go forward with it. As I shared, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been privileged to be here for a long time. And in my 14 years of leading at the district level, this is the first instance of having a weapon on property, having a firearm on property. And so I think as we take a look at this holistically, we have to remind ourselves, in the anxiety and concern and fear that comes with an event like this, that our safety procedures have been successful. That over the time that we've been together with Chief Fender and Chief Odines, we have worked for decades to put into place the safety plan that the police department said were their priorities. We worked hand in hand with training. We worked hand in hand with proactive capital improvements to create safety measures here, and we've had a good success rate. But we all acknowledge that one incident is too many, right? 14 years and only having one incident is one too many, and so we need to continue to look at and to work on improving school safety. But I want to assure everybody that this is an ongoing conversation. It's not happening because of this. We've been doing this for decades, and we'll continue that pattern. However, I want to kind of give a caution that we are not tonight, the chief or Bill or myself, we are not going to share all the details of the safety adjustments that we are going to make. We share a lot of our safety plan publicly, but some of that we keep privately. And to quote the chief, we don't want to let the bad guys know all the specifics of what we do in our safety plan. And so some of those things and some of those adjustments will be kept, will not be publicly shared, but we're going to share as much as we possibly can while still keeping the safety of our students and the knowledge of our parents and community in mind. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wingler, who is going to recap the facts of the incident on January 9th.
All right, good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to go through, I'm not going to read off this, I'm going to go through the chronology of the way that things happened that day. Roughly about 8:47 in the morning, I think Dr. Redwood put student one. Student one came into the building. I coincidentally happened to be walking into the building myself because I had come from an event somewhere else off property. Came in the building, the student left, went into the cafeteria area, was around that area for about 15-20 minutes. Him and another student, student two, went to the auditorium doors, exited the doors, and the student was seen going to a car. One of our cafeteria monitors saw the student and walked over to Officer Brian Bobula, SRO Bobula, and said this student went to their car. Officer Bobula alerted myself and Mr. Castle. We searched the student's bag, we searched the student's person, which is something we do when kids go to cars regardless. At this point, this is all the information we had. The student had something on their person, not weapon related, that they should not have had. So we placed the student in what we call corrective learning, where they were the only student in corrective learning. They did not have their phone. They did not have their backpack. At that time, within a matter of minutes, almost overlapping, Officer Bobulus grabbed me, said, "Hey, I got a tip from someone in the community." The tip said that the student in student one, who is in corrective learning, has social media posts which are concerning. I got a hold of, I did know who the tip was. I got a hold of the person, and I received emails of what that was. It was some weapons. It was some other things I won't get into here, things that were of a concerning nature. So with Officer Brian, I did leave out inadvertently, Officer Bobula, seeing that the car was parked in the auditorium lot, which is staff parking, asked the student to move, the owner of the vehicle, student two, to move their vehicle to the upper lot, which they did. They came in and went to class. I grabbed Eric Castle, and the two of us went and grabbed that student, the owner of the vehicle, student two, out of their class. We walked with them. We did a very quick search of the car, and we found a vape. So both students at that point were stashed. Then we took a deeper look, because I had more than one picture. We looked, and in a very, very quick turnover, I Officer Bobula. Him and Eric Castle went back out to the car where they found the weapons under one of the seats in the car. Officer Bryan at that point had secured the weapons. He had them put away. They were safe, and alerted me, came back to my office, where within 20 seconds of that radio, actually, because I was in my office I called Dr. Ryba pretty much immediately and said, this is what we have. We're digging deeper. We're going to look at video. At that point, I'm not going to try to minimize the rest of the day. I think it takes longer to get through this stuff than people may realize. By the time we had the chance to speak to all of the students, bring parents up while keeping Dr. Ryba informed, roughly at 2 o'clock was when the last student was out. At 1:30, fearing that I would not be able to talk to my staff, who I felt was going to be clearly stressed, we made an announcement. I shot an email out while talking to a student. Please come to the school after school. We're having a staff meeting. I want to go through what happened. We made an announcement. Staff, just check your email, please. It's important. They did. I did have a staff meeting at 2:30 in which pretty much everyone showed up. Told them the exact same thing that I just told you. And then from that point, Dr. Ryba and I conferred. He asked me for some support on the communication, which was online, and that went until about 4 o'clock.
Any questions on the details before we continue on? So based on that, this happened on Friday. On Thursday, we scheduled an after-action meeting with the police department. So as you can see here, on Thursday, a meeting was held at the police headquarters. On behalf of the district, I was there with our board president, Laura Hausum, Bill Wingler, high school principal, and then Dan Faust, our communications coordinator. From the police, Chief Odines, Officer Bobula, who's our SRO, and then Sergeant Steve Pierkowski, who's our school safety liaison, was there to debrief and take a look at, like at any event, what did we do well, where do we need to have improvements, and how we responded to that. And so I'm going to turn it over to Chief Odines at this time to share his feedback from a police perspective. Chief?
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. From a law enforcement perspective, I think when I look at this was a successful operational outcome with what happened at the high school that day. From a law enforcement side, the school, like Dr. Ryba said, the school and the police department have been working years together, doing training the students, the staff, everybody, to have the best possible outcome if something were to happen. But the list of hypotheticals is endless. So hats off to the principal and to my officer and all the staff that were involved. That they got this information, and it was a pressure cooker right off the rip. All the decisions made, split-second decisions, crunching down all that information and figuring out what was the best alternative to resolve this quickly and safely. Until you're put into a situation like that, you don't realize how much stress that is. And so hats off to you, Bill. It was a fantastic job, and hats off to Brian Bobula. You guys did a great job. And as far as the law enforcement, we're thrilled with the outcome. As Dr. Ryba said on Thursday, then we met for an after-action plan, which is what the police department does after any major event. And so, we worked with the schools on this. And basically what we do is we evaluate the operation or incident, and we evaluate what happened. We look for what happened, why it happened, and we look at how decisions were made. We identify strengths, weaknesses, and gaps. We identified some of these gaps that could help in future events. They have to be realistic goals, though, that we can reach. A lot of people from the outside will throw information at us that really isn't realistic, and so we have to sift through this, what's realistic as far as an outcome, just to improve future events, performance, and safety. Dr. Ryba touched on it, on us not telling you everything we discussed. And those reasons are, we don't want to expose our limitations or possibly expose capabilities, so we're not going to discuss everything, but some decisions were made. We talked about just basically what we can do, because our vision is the same. The schools and the police, obviously, the number one thing is safety. Safety with the students, safety with the staff, and that's what we worked on. So I think our after-action plan went very well. It went smooth. There was no pointing of fingers or anything like that. That was not the intent of the meeting. It was to resolve any issues that we thought we could maybe improve. So does anybody have any questions about anything that I could possibly answer on that?
So Chief, one of the things we talked about there, we had a lot of community feedback about the lockdown. We didn't go into a lockdown, and so, we did debrief together on that. But so from a police perspective, in retrospect, what was the assessment of the police on the decision not to lock down?
So a lockdown sounds pretty simple when you just say it, lockdown, but realize a lockdown is a very complex. It creates so many challenges for both the school and for the law enforcement. This is not a simple throw the light switch on and there's a lockdown and throw the light switch off and it's over. Like I said, Principal Wingler and Officer Bobula had limited information, and they're working on crunching this as quickly as possible, and the stress that must have been involved is incredible. So if you act too fast and if they lock down that school, I mean, this could cause trauma to a lot of kids. Realize when you lock down a school, some kids get locked out of rooms. If they happen to be in the hallway or in the bathroom, they're out of luck, and they're locked out, and they have to hide. And think of the different maturity levels of the students that are being locked out. Some kids might be able to handle that. Other kids are going to. And it's not going to be, if they turn off the lockdown, that kid just doesn't go back to being normal. That kid is traumatized. If you throw in a lockdown, and we know everybody here's got a smartphone, those kids are on the phone instantly calling all their parents and all their friends and everything. And now we have the rush of parents showing up. Rightfully so, they're worried about their kids, demanding they want their little Johnny or little Susie, and that causes a complex problem. If they would have called a lockdown on the law enforcement side, officers drop everything they're doing, obviously, if there's something like that at a school or at the mall. Everybody is dropping everything, and they are rushing to the scene. And if there are multi-jurisdictional agencies out there listening, and they hear that something's going on at Strongsville, they're coming to Strongsville, and everybody's coming fast. So the danger of just cars responding fast and coming in, and they're not coming in, they're coming in with assault rifles if they think there's a gun in that school. If there's, calling for a lockdown is a big deal. It is not a simple light switch that you throw on and off. So it's not to be taken lightly. Does it seem like the quick, easy answer? Sure, in hindsight, but the outcome that we achieved that day because of the staff of the school and the officer working together like they've been trained to do, and like they do like every single day, it's just business as normal for them communicating. This was a perfect outcome, in my opinion, from the law enforcement side. I couldn't ask for a better outcome, and I'm glad that you didn't order the lockdown, because we would have been dealing with a lot more had a lockdown kicked out. Lockdowns are usually saved for active shooters. That means someone is actively killing somebody inside or shooting people. So
I appreciate that, Chief. And the other thing we talked about, and kind of just as a thought partner with the police, is we received feedback about the timing of my communication, right? As Bill went through the timeline and explained. And so one of the things as we talked about, obviously the police have to handle many more critical situations like this than we do. But I thought it was good to get the feedback from the police that our communication is about accuracy over speed.
100%.
And that we have to communicate in a way that when we feel it's appropriate and timely to share that. So we We try to do this as timely as we possibly can. We also understand that we will never keep up with the speed of texting or social media or things that are out there. But I think we can all understand, everything that I put in writing is going to be dissected and looked at and quoted. And so I have protection laws that I have to look at, and so I have to be extremely careful about what I share and what I don't share. So the goal is always as quickly as possible, but as quickly as possible in a manner where we can be accurate with our facts, we can be thoughtful with our message, and we can do so after we have all of those layers taken care of. We have internal layers to take care of, we have parental layers to take care of, and then we've got external layers. So we do the best we can, and again, our goal is to be timely, but I appreciated the chief's guidance from somebody that deals with this more than I would on my day-to-day job.
The only thing I would say is transparency is a tool, but it's not an absolute. There are certain things, in certain ways, you control it. And like I said, misinformation is just as bad as, it's the same as bad information or no information. So timing, everybody wants instant gratification. It's not realistic. It's just not. And some things is better to wait.
So as we take a look at this, we also took in our after-action meeting, what are our next steps? You know, what have we learned? What are we going to work on? As I said, not everything is going to be shared publicly, but some of the things we did want to share, we'll start with immediate. Some things that are going to start happening quickly. I'm going to turn it back over to Bill to share where he's at with the backpack policy at the high school.
Yeah, the backpack policy is something that I've had discussions for a few years with these guys about. The backpacks are, at the minimum, they're a liability. If you go into our cafeteria at lunch, and most of you in here have been in there, there are roughly 400 backpacks on the floor. Every classroom has backpacks everywhere. Forget about the fact that you can't see what's in the backpack, which is certainly a component of safety, but students carry backpacks around all day. I used to joke when Olivia was a senior, I don't know how her 100-pound self carried that 90-pound backpack, but she never went to her locker. We have beautiful lockers at Strongsville High School that nobody actually uses, but the backpacks are a concern for a variety of reasons, including but not limited to vaping and some of the issues we're having with restrooms being clogged up with stuff that kids are flushing because they're bringing them in backpacks. So we are looking, I don't know exactly what that looks like today, but we are looking hard at how can we better create, not just for what the kids are carrying, but in case, God forbid, there's a fire and people aren't tripping and falling over backpacks or running back to grab them because their cell phone is inside the backpack.
Chief, you want to share about the VIP program with the police and how we think we can use that great group of people to help support?
Yes. So we have, if you're not aware, we have volunteers in policing, and these are members of our community that have gone through our Citizen Police Academy, where we show them about our police department, how it works. We teach them about our police department, basically. And then some of the guys and girls afterwards want to become volunteers for our police department. They're so impressed with how we do business. They become members and they volunteer for us. And if you've been to any of our big events in the city, you've probably seen them. They wear green shirts, or at the rib burn-off, they're at the fireworks. They even work to the mall where they help assist people, escort people to their cars during the heavy shopping season if they're nervous about going out there. They're basically another set of eyes and ears for us. They have a uniform. They've been screened through us, vetted through us. We've done criminal checks on them. And we give them a walkie-talkie, and they go out, and they're our eyes and ears at the mall, at the rib burn-off, at the fireworks. So, they've been an asset to the department, no doubt about it. You've probably seen them at some of the football games. But the idea has been floated, and about them possibly being people who walk through the schools as a deterrent. I think it would be great. I think they would love it, being part of the community. I think the community would love to meet some of these guys and girls. So I think it's a great idea. The price is right. Yeah, it's an idea we're going to explore, definitely.
The other part we're going to work on is looking between the police and the school district, providing some education opportunities in partnership with families. As I think we all can understand, to keep our schools safe, it is a community effort. And we need to look at how we can help support our families to ensure and to check kids' bedrooms, check kids' cars, have those conversations to ensure that if you choose to have weapons in your house, that they're in the appropriate safe, locked up, that those things are secured so that we can limit as much as we possibly can from a community perspective, children's access to weapons and guns that they can get a hold of that can then be brought into school. And so looking at how we all can come together to help support is something that will be on the top of the list. The last thing is the establishment of a community advisory team. So this is, as the board knows, as a part of my goals last year, I developed this concept of a community advisory team because of a variety of things. We put it on hold, but I think it's important to move forward with it now. Community advisory team is as a school district committee or advisory team that is going to be representative not just of our school district stakeholders, but our community stakeholders. And the charge of this advisory team is to do just that, provide guidance and advisement to the superintendent or to the board on topics that we have of interest. So it could be a topic that's of interest to the board, a topic of interest to me as superintendent, a topic that's of interest to our community. And so it is going to be a group where the topic evolves based on what is needed to be discussed. And so one of, obviously, I think a top priority is to get this group together. And the first topic that we will have is school safety and safety in general. So again, it's going to take a little bit of time because we want a broad outreach. And so to do that, but I think this is going to be a great partnership between the district and our community to take a holistic look, get more people informed and educated about what we do. Throughout this experience, I've had outreach of countless number of folks in our community that work in safety fields, that have expertise, that could be valued partners in helping us support safe schools. So that is something else that we'll be launching in the coming weeks. Moving on to things that are ongoing work. Again, I'm going to turn it over to the chief to talk about the training and the partnership with the police department and how our staff are trained.
So we have an SRO in the high school and we have an SRO in the middle school every single day. Every year at the beginning of the year, Brian Bobula is our patrolman that's at the high school. Will train the new staff and the students. It takes him a couple weeks to get through the whole group, but he gives them training on what to do in case of an active shooter, and he trains them basically. We also do lockdown drills at the schools, at the middle school, and basically what they do is they start off baby steps and they work their way up as the school year gets on. So we've been practicing these for years, and we've given teachers constructive criticism. Sometimes it's with kid gloves, and sometimes we get pretty harsh with them because we get kind of tired of people not doing it right because it's a serious issue. It's great when the kids go to the high school because I think they get culture shock because maybe in the middle school we're a little more kids glove, but Principal Wingler runs a tight ship, and I'm happy for it. It's what we love to see in the police department, that he takes what we're telling them seriously, and that creates the whole culture at the high school. So we're happy that we do this training, and we feel it's been successful, and we're going to continue to do that training. I don't know, that's about it.
Yeah. Other things that are ongoing is that we will be reviewing our district-wide lockdown procedures. So obviously we have many buildings across the district. We do have clear lockdown procedures at all of the buildings, but this is a good time to review those, see where they need to evolve or improve. And again, this will be done in collaboration with the police department to help support that. We talked earlier about communication procedures. Again, we shared kind of the timing of that, but this is always a good time to look back and see, okay, when we have these situations, what are key things that we want to make sure that we want to communicate? What's the cadence of things that we, and who we want to communicate with? It is extremely, as the chief said, it is extremely complex to go through all of the pieces and the steps that you have to do to make sure everybody has the communication that they need. And so it's a good time to review and see if there's any enhancements that we need to do there. And finally, just continuing to remind people of our See Something, Say Something and our 24/7 hotline. Officer Bobula in our action debrief had shared every incident of, we've never had another incident of a gun being on property, but we have had incidents of knives being on property. Every incident that we've had has come through the See Something, Say Something methodology, right? Kids come up, they don't want that in their school. They don't want that to be there. So it is working. The 24/7 hotline is working, and just reminding people that to continue to use that. And just for everybody's knowledge, for the online system that we use, it is monitored 24/7. So when something comes through that's of concern, they have a phone tree that they go through no matter what time of day it is, where they call me first, they call Jenny second, they call Andy third, until they get a hold of somebody that says, okay, I'll take a look at the message that's there. So that's a great safety support that we have. And then moving on to researching on potential future security tools. I'm going to turn it over to Bill to talk about some sensors that he's piloting at the high school.
Yeah, before I do that, I do want to just put a plug in. I've been in education a long time. I've worked with a lot of police officers. We are blessed, and this is no disparagement of the middle school SRO. I don't know him that well. We have Officer Bobula is truly one of the most on top of it people that I've ever met in a school. Part of the reason why the Say Something works is that he intuitively forms relationships with some of our most students who bring the most difficulty to be educated to our building. And his intuitive level, he was in the middle of this, and I walked into it when he was already in the middle of this. And we've had minor problems. That seems to be the case often. So I said something at the meeting. I want to say something publicly. I know Brian's got about 25 years in, so I hope he's around as long as I am, because we are truly blessed at the high school. We probably have one of the best SROs you're ever going to find. In terms of the sensors, we are piloting for 60 days. We get 2 units. They're sensors. They're a little new age, though, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be a tech guy. If I've come up here and talked to you guys before, I'm not tech sound. I'm not going to look over at Binkley either for any help. But what the sensors do, these are more than just vape detectors, because these were born before this event. But they relate to security anyway. But because these sensors sense smoke, they sense aggressive noises, they have loitering sensors on them. So if a student is in the restroom for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever we preset, it presents you with an image of emojis. I'm saying emojis, they're not emojis, but like stick
Avatars.
figures, whatever.
Yeah,
Avatars,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Whatever they are, and it shows you the actual motion the student is going in the bathroom. So if they go in the stall, out, in, out, around, all over, it will tell you, show you a track of what they're doing. These all go to an app, which is included with these sensors, to whoever we set up. Clearly, obviously, at the high school, for me, that's administrators, SRO, potentially other people that are helping us keep our school safe as possible. What's really cool about them is they link directly to our camera system. So if a student, for example, goes in and decides, a freshman goes in and decides, a freshman boy, let's get real specific, and says, I'm going to destroy a soap dispenser, it'll trigger a noise alarm. It will record who comes out of that bathroom for 60 seconds, 2 minutes, again, whatever we set it at, which is, I will tell you, if you've ever tried to search through our camera system, it's a great system. It is really time consuming to search through our system. So this is something that I think we're bringing in to solve a different problem, but certainly the restrooms are a blind spot. So I think this could potentially be a huge help. We're getting 60 days for free, and then after that, we'll talk about price and what we can afford and where they can go.
every year we get grant money, safety grant money from the state, and we've used that on a variety of things across a district every single year, from the entry systems to the bolo sticks to the window film to all of those safety upgrades we've made. Mr. Breckner, our operations manager, is researching, and what we've got slated for this year are staff alert safety badges. So I don't have my badge on, but if you've seen them, it's a badge that you wear, and it's works by Bluetooth, and based on how many times you press it, could send a signal to police, to admit, kind of similar to what Bill was saying, to wherever you say it to send, to let you know the exact location where an emergency is happening. So what you take a look at is in the instance of a true emergency, a lockdown could be called by any employee in the building. So to have a staff member that's in a classroom that sees something, to be able to press on his or her badge that sends a signal that this building is going into lockdown, saves time, saves seconds, gives exact locations. And so that's something that Steve is researching different company options, but is an enhancement that by the end of the year we will bring to the board a recommendation for which direction to go. We'll turn it back over to Bill to some of the work that he's doing for door security due to the number of doors we have at the high school.
Yeah, so for me, and the thing that I always tell people, the thing that keeps me the most stressed or up at night is the doors, the door security. We have a lot of doors. It's a big high school. If those of you have walked the high school, there are doors and locations you don't automatically think of. That science door that goes basically into the woods, the athletic doors, the back ones that go back by the baseball field. There's several over by Vicky White's room, and there's one that goes out into what used to be the tennis courts. Those are doors, and I talked to Cameron the other day. Those are the doors that concern me the most because they're not high-use doors. Very rarely are those doors used. There are cameras on every door, but they're in faraway areas from the front of the building. So we are just looking into some options very similar to the sensors in the restrooms that would alert us when those doors are open, so that we have a notification system of people throughout the building to make sure that somebody knows that a door is being used.
And then finally, one of the most prevalent recommendations after the incident on Friday was about the district's intent to install metal detectors. And just to give a little bit of history with Chief Fender, Chief Odines, we've talked about metal detectors for years. Had a board presentation in 2022 about where we stood on metal detectors. Brought it up again in 2024. So I want to let everybody know that this has been a continuous kind of pulse check of where are we at with metal detectors. And what we had with the police and all the chiefs we worked with is here's the punch list of things and priorities that they had. And we've been able to work through, I think, pretty much all of those priorities. And metal detectors were something that were always stated as that's not something we feel that the school district should invest dollars in. But obviously, it's a valid recommendation, a valid concern. So we brought it up at the after action meeting and relied on the police officers and the police officials that were there to give us their 2026 recommendation for metal detectors. So Chief, I'll turn it over to you to speak from a police perspective on why we're not moving forward with metal detectors.
So metal detectors do sound like a quick, easy fix, but as Principal Wingler was saying, there's too many doors at that high school, and those kids know how to get in and out of that school. You look at the upfront cost for metal detectors, it's substantial. And then where would you place them at the doors? Which doors do you guys choose? And if you just do it at the main entrance, then what you're doing is you're creating a huge line in the morning, a concentration of students all showing up at the same time, and that creates a safety risk in itself. But if, let's say, you divert another metal detectors to another set of doors or even a third set of doors, those have to be manned. They have to be manned, and you have to pay for somebody to man those. And with the kids bringing in laptops and their phones and everything else, music instruments, all that's going to set off alarms. And eventually people will get tired of telling kids to open up their bags, and then they start waving people through. And then is it really serving its purpose? I'm just thinking, the metal detectors, they would be ineffective at a school that big. It's not cost prohibitive. It would give people a false sense of security. That's basically is our recommendation. There's too many things. You got kids showing up at 6 a.m. to work out, that you'd have to have someone manning them, those metal detectors, and then you have basketball and wrestling and everything else you have at that band and all that after school. Someone would have to be manning it if you guys want to truly keep it secure. And there's so many doors that the people that want to do bad will figure out how to get past metal detectors. So that's it.
So that is the summary of our after-action meeting, the summary of the incident. So again, as Bill said, and it doesn't go without saying one more time, thank you to him, his administrative team, Officer Bobula, Chief Odines, who was on the phone with me throughout the day and throughout the time to help support what was a successful outcome to a very scary and dangerous situation. And it was through the collaboration and communication and partnership that we got to a safe resolution for everybody. And we're here talking about how can we get better versus the alternative. So thank you to the quick action and leadership of everybody that was involved. And Ms. Hausum, I'll turn it back over to you if there's any further discussion or questions that the board has for any one of us.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? I will start by just reiterating what Dr. Ribas said. One thing that stuck with me after that Thursday meeting was when the chief said, Mr. Wingler, Officer Bobula, Mr. Castle had to make split-second decisions, and they were right. So I appreciate you guys being on the ball and that we had a very positive outcome this time. And I know that we will continue to talk about security. We'll have updates as we move forward with making sure that our lockdown procedures are unanimous across the board. Yeah, so, other questions, comments?
So I won't lose the opportunity to thank our high school team, our police officers, et cetera. Just a few thoughts that I had. One, we do active shooter drills for the teachers, the students. We do them 3 times a year, I believe, is the requirement.
More lockdown than active shooter, but I guess
lockdown. We do that 3 times a year. Maybe we can, along with our communication idea, is think of a way to teach parents and include them in the lockdown drill, because we go through the exercise for our youngest students, but I don't think we do. I don't think we have as much as, if I'm a parent and maybe the parents need to think about what would my response be, because it wouldn't be helpful to just flood the cell phones or what have you. So maybe we can do a little education for parents and community members on, God forbid something happens that requires a lockdown. What can you do to be helpful? And maybe that means sitting on your hands and praying until you get more information, but actually taking the time to communicate that to parents and community members. I think many of us, we went down a rabbit hole. Metal detectors, I think, for a number of reasons, would be a false sense of security. But I think about when I go to the Playhouse and when I go to the Cavs, there's a new generation of sensors. Maybe we need to investigate those, because they don't necessarily need that you have to take all your metal objects out and walk through. And with I hate to use the term artificial intelligence, but from what little Googling I did, it seems like they have more abilities to alert, whether it's a firearm, a knife, or what have you, that it thinks it may have detected, and that might be something that gives us something to truly act upon, but also not create a false sense of security. So So I think it's behooves us to investigate that and see if there's anything else like that. And then the last suggestion I was going to offer to the board, we have a good cadence of doing this, of discussing it. We have our documentation. It seems like we do it every 2 years, but I'd like to suggest maybe we need to have a annual work session where at a board meeting, we publicly review what's the state of affairs, what do we need to work on, what do we need to prioritize for the next year. That's what but I wanted to start with and end with, thank you.
Other questions, comments? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Wingler.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief, for
you.
being here. We really appreciate it. Next on the agenda, we have public comment. We do have one public comment this evening. Jeff Meeghart? Thank you. Thank you. If you want to come up to the podium and state your name, your address, and you have approximately 3 minutes.
I'm Jeff Mayer. I live at 11022 East Wing Court. You mind if I pass a couple things out to you guys? So you understand what I'm talking about, maybe? And thank you for your service, all of you guys, especially the officers that are involved in the school incident. My parents lived here at town home, and I didn't even know that happened. But I was wondering if you guys had any protocols for like federal agents come to request information or see students or teachers here. Do you guys have any protocols in place for that?
I'm going to wait until you go back. We can't hear you.
Oh, you can? I'm sorry.
If you don't mind going back to the podium.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Do you
Do you want to pass those out for you?
Yeah, I have names on it. Yeah, there's names on them. No names that are not on there. You just pass them everyone. Those officers. So, my question was if you guys had a protocol for if federal agents came to talk to a student or teacher or obtain any information from you guys.
Ms. Hausum, I'll defer to you in terms of, a public comment is usually just a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I could move on with the comment. I just was, before I go into it, maybe I missed something in my research about you guys having a protocol if federal agents came to the school. But as the chief said, that it could be pretty traumatizing for students to see someone getting taken out of school, a teacher or another student. And the information being released, I think, is important too, because privacy is important for our students and our teachers. But is there any known protocols if federal agents were to come request that from you guys? Like who do they talk to? Where do they go? I mean, I know it sounds pretty tough to get into school, which is great, and some good officers that, vet that. But do we have any protocols for that?
Yes, we have board policy that dictates how we interact with law enforcement.
Okay, cool. Is it, because other cities like Cleveland have set up protocols where they direct everything to the superintendent, and because they have some warrants that aren't legally binding from a judge, and they're using those to get into schools, and some teachers might not understand the difference between those things. And I just want to know if you guys had protocols for that. If not, maybe it would be a good idea to look at some of the other districts that have protocols around us, because safety and privacy is pretty important for our students. And my kid's not in school, but she was sensitive, and I can imagine if something like that were to happen in her school, like I see it in different parts of the country, she would be traumatized forever. And it's, it's just concerning for me because we don't think it could happen here, but what if? What if something happened in school and an accident happened? You know what I mean? So I think times like, in the uncertain times we have now, we got to be concerned about what ifs, and take measures to protect our students' safety and privacy. So I have some definitions about some things and also some evidence that, there are federal presence in the city, have been for a week now. And there's, it's possible they do gather information from the school and the students and teachers. And so I think it's smart to have a protocol where we guide them with their warrants to the superintendent, and he can handle everything, because it's not really, it's not really the teacher's responsibility. I mean, they're to keep our kids safe and teach them, but let's let them focus on that, and not disrupt that. Is my opinion, but, being in risk mitigation for a while, that's a good chain of command, to do it. So that's my recommendation and comment, but that's it. I appreciate your time. Thanks for everything.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have approval of minutes. We are approving our minutes from our December 29th, 2025 Special Board of Education meeting, our January 8th, 2026 organizational meeting, and our January 8th, 2026 work session. Motion to approve the minutes of these meetings. You can view the minutes on our website. Next, under Board of Education Other, we have a resolution determining to proceed with submitting the question of the issuance of school improvement bonds in the aggregate principal amount of $147,650,000 to the electors of the Strongsville City School District pursuant to Section 133.18 of the revised code. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hafner, second by Mr. Wall. Questions or comments? George, do you want to explain what we're voting on?
Yeah, so this is, so at the, I'll just kind of go in chronological order. So at the November meeting, there was one resolution that was to move forward with the tax commissioner asking to move forward with a bond project that would exceed our 4% resolution. We did at the November meeting, then at the December meeting, December 11th, we kind of talked about it, and then December 29th meeting, we finalized the total cost of the construction project, which at that time, we filed that initial resolution with Department of Taxation, saying that we were going to request to exceed our 4% assessed valuation. Then that had to be filed by January 5th. Then at our last board meeting, January 6th, we did Resolution 1, which was certification of necessity to the county auditor, saying that we're moving forward with a construction project and to certify the values of construction project or bond project of $147,650,000 to move forward with that and certify the millage amount for 36 years at a 5% interest rate. So they sent the certification back. The millage for the 36 years would be 3.43 mils for $1 of taxable value, which amounts to $120 for each $100,000 of the county auditor's market value, which is right around what we were anticipating to be anyways. So that's their official certification based on our new valuations to move forward with the May 5th, 2026 election. So now this is the final resolution. This resolution here accepts the county's valuation and gives me the authority to file with the Board of Elections that we are placing a ballot issue on the May 5th election for a bond project for the elementary construction project.
Great. Any questions or comments for George? Hearing none, George, can you take the roll? Oh, yes.
I didn't say it fast enough. I apologize. We have 2 new board members, so they haven't heard me do my 3-legged stool yet. But whenever I take a look at tax issues, it's a serious responsibility for any board member, and I evaluate them using a 3-part test. The first part of the test is whether it's needed, because we have no business asking the taxpayer for their hard-earned dollars if it's not needed. And I think the past 3 years, all of the work that the various committees have done to determine the elementary facilities, it is needed. Quickly, we have trailers for our students. So it passes that test. It is needed. The second part of my test is whether it's reasonable, because we could argue for a 35 mil levy, but that's not reasonable for our taxpayers. In this instance, I talked with George. The last year's property tax reevaluation brought some new money to the district. If you converted that to a millage amount, it would be, depending on how you calculate it, right around 1 or 1.04 mils. If you take a look at this bond is calculated at 3.43 mils. So together, that's 4.43 mils. The levy that was failed most recently was 5.9 mils. So if we earn the trust of the taxpayer for this bond, including the reevaluation money, we are still below the previous tax rate. Now, I will acknowledge that some homeowners, their property went way up and they had a much larger increase. Some homeowners, their property values went way down. They had a much larger decrease. But overall, for the district, the millage amount of the reevaluation plus this bond is less. So I do think it's reasonable that the taxpayer, that we ask the taxpayer to support this. And then the third part of my test is, can I look my neighbors and the citizens of Strongsville in the eye and say, we're not going to waste your money? Because one of the worst things we could possibly do is waste our own money or our neighbor's money. And I can say that every single time. I'm a cheap SOB. I will make sure every penny is stretched as far as it can. But it's not just me saying that. We have a history with our middle school project of stretching every dollar and making sure we're not wasting the taxpayers' money. So this bond does pass my 3-part test, so I can't wait to vote for it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Micco. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Micco?
Yes.
Motion carries. And again, I said it 2 weeks ago, I'll say it again, just thank everyone. It's been a lot of years of hard work from community members, everyone around this table. I see people out in our audience who I've spent many, many meetings with, so I want to thank everybody for their time and efforts for seeing this to the end. Thank you. All right, George, I'll turn it over to you for your treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Hausum. Before I get into my treasurer's report, I want to recognize that January is OSBA Board Appreciation Month. And with that, it was my turn this year to do this portion. Cameron and I kind of rotate. So first, I just wanted to say thank you for all you do for the students of Strongsville and the community, and the dedication and leadership that you provide the school district to us and to all of us. It's been a pleasure working with you guys over the years, Eric and Megan. It's been a pleasure getting to know you so far and working. So with that, we do have some small token of appreciation that came from the Derby made by our students. And then I'm just going to pass them out real quick. And there's also a certificate in there from OSBA as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys can go ahead and open them.
Thanks, George. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, did you feel like we had like a good quarter zip in this type of weather?
Quarter zip.
Love it.
And they have, and just to kind of give a plug to the Derby,
Go.
they're located at the high school, but everything is made by the students. It's it's a vocational transition program that the students are in for a special education cluster that gives them an opportunity to kind of do some work that transitions into a real life experience. So I was talking to Mr. Frederick, and there's a series of classes where they take the orders and they do these, the shirts and any other type of apparel. And lately, they've been working with a lot of our sports teams where they've been doing their apparel in-house. So it's kind of cool to see how it's grown over the years.
That's great.
So.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, now moving into my treasurer's report, I have a few items for your consideration tonight. The first is the financial report for the month ended December 31st, 2025. Typically, I do the supplemental report, but since we do have two new board members, I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of go over the board monthly financial status report, what it entails, and also refresh the community, and then kind of review the supplemental report, which is kind of more of a summary. So every month I kind of do two reports. One is the bigger financial status report. I'm just going to go over it in a high level. There's various sections to it. First is the month by month of summary of revenues and expenses. These are the categories that are on our forecast. That's how it's broken down. We are 6 months into the year. So overall, revenues total 39.7 million, expenditures were 46.7, so our net change is about 7 million. The next section talks about revenues, and I'll get more into the changes in the supplemental report, but the next section compares the revenues to the 5-year forecast. 83 million is what was forecasted. Column B shows actuals through December, projected. Column C shows projected throughout the rest of the year, projected revenues, and kind of over/under based on the 5-year forecast. And then the next page, the graph shows kind of 3 years comparison to the different categories. Property taxes, the state foundation, state allocation, and other. Those are our main categories. You can see the dip in the property taxes, which is for the expiration of the renewal levy, while state foundation, state property tax allocation, and other, you kind of see it's been consistent year over year. Expenditures, this section looks at the expenditures and how they're trending. There's two tests that we do. One is pay periods and the time of year. Since we've gone to 24 pays, the pay periods and time of years are aligned, which is 24 pays for the month, 24 pays for the fiscal year, 2 a month, which kind of aligns to the same percentage of the time of year passed. So December, 50% of the year has passed. We should be around 50% of our expenses. We're slightly over, but that more has to do with purchase services and materials and supplies, which they kind of trend over this time of the year due to the timing of when they're spent. The good news is salaries and benefits is about 49%. 49 point, don't have the exact amount, but we're slightly under on salaries and benefits. So everything is trending where it should be trending. The next two graphs, the first one looks at that percentages throughout the year, so you can kind of see where we should be at 50%. This black line is the 50% mark. Salaries and benefits are right around the 50%. The green color is this current fiscal year, and then it goes to the left backwards. And then the gold graph is the 3-year average. So we've always been hovering right around where we should be for salaries and benefits. You can kind of see the trend for purchase services to be slightly higher, and same with capital outlay, which this year is a little trending under, and then debt and other objects has kind of been consistent where it is in comparison to the budget. And then figure 6, the bottom graph, shows the expenditures by category, actual dollars. And this trend has been the same. So salaries are going to continue to increase, benefits are going to continue to increase, so you can kind of see that trend. Purchase services, we do have a slight trend increase there due to increased cost. Really our utilities and our outplacements for special education has increased over the last few years. And then capital outlay and other objects represent a small portion of our budget. This next section talks a little bit about what I just explained, the percentage differences. The first paragraph states that our salaries averaged $2.3 million for the month of December, which is similar to the month of November, which those are kind of consistent month over month once we start getting into the fiscal year. Then the last section of this report is the cash balance. So we began the fiscal year with $48 million. Total revenues are about 39.7. Expenditures are 46.8. So we're over under about $7 million of our spend down is about $7 million so far through December this fiscal year, from July to December. And then if you look at December to last December, we're about $8.7 million less from last December to this December. So our cash balance has been decreasing, and going to touch on it in the next presentation on the supplemental report. It represents currently we're projected to finish out about 40% of our expenditures throughout the year. And then just looking at the graph below kind of shows the month-by-month trend of cash balance. So kind of going with cash flow, I think I talked about the last meeting how property tax are our main revenue source, and we have to have that last. And sometimes that's the importance of cash balance, where this time of year the cash balance dips because we're still spending down the property taxes that we received in July and August, and we're not getting our real settlement until our big chunk, and it's going to be split between February and March, and we have to have that last through the middle of July until we get the next chunk that has to last through the end of the year. So that's kind of why the importance of cash balance is kind of getting you through these low cash flow times. And if I wasn't here then, but if you go about 15 years back when our cash balances were real low, at this time of year the district was borrowing tax anticipation notes to make payroll and pay bills, and there's a cost for that. So what you're doing is borrowing short-term debt and then paying that back when that tax advance comes in. So that's a position where we don't want to get to, but I know there's been some talk over the years about having cash balances, but this is one of the reasons why is to be able to manage cash flow as well. Any questions so far before I go into the appendix? The appendix is more of additional reports that kind of required to have with the financial report. So the additional reports that are there is one is the monthly bank rec that is here. That is typically prepared by the assistant treasurer and then reviewed by myself. Currently, until our new assistant starts, this one I've prepared. It shows all of our bank accounts, outstanding checks, and any adjustments that were made for the month. The next section is our meter investment report. We have two accounts for meter. We have our operating accounts and then the portion of the 070 funds that are with meter. And meter also throws in the balances that are in Star, Ohio on this report as well. So where it says cash, that $23 million, that's what we have in Star, Ohio. And then securities, that 23.6 is what we have invested with meter. And you can see where it's laddered over. We have, of that $23 million, $10 million is in one-year securities. 9.9 million is in 9.9 is in 1 to 2 years. And then the 3-year bucket, we have about 3.2. Now that we're going to get into that deficit spend portion, we're phasing out the longer term investments. And we had the cash balance, we were able to go 4 or 5 years out. If you're able to go out longer, you're able to get better interest rates. So that we're going to be seeing our interest income decline less dollars to advance, and the shorter period we can go out based on cash flows as well. And then the next statement is the 070, the dollars that are invested with meter. So we have 2.8 in Star, Ohio right now, and then about 18 million invested with meter. And due to when we're going to start needing the funds, we kind of have those in smaller buckets into the 1-year space and the 2-year space. And as we're going to start having start working on projects in the summer and going into next year, as some of these investments roll off, we're going to bring those into Star, Ohio, rather than reinvest them into meter, that way they're liquid. And then the next page is a report of interest. So for the month of December, we had about $295,000 worth of interest. About $148,000 was for the general fund, about $4,000 was for the field turf fund, and then $142,000 was for the 070 fund. And then the next page, I'm gonna kind of blow it up a little bit. I'm almost done. I just kind of wanted to go over this as for the new members. The next page is kind of a 3-year comparison of the same categories that we talked about in revenues and expenditures. Looking at a monthly for the month of December and then a fiscal year to date. So kind of highlighting it is for the month of December, cash flow is usually a low point in December. We brought in about 1.3 million, while our expenses for December were about 7.6. So we spent that. So we had to utilize $6.3 million of cash that we had in essentially in the bank for the month of December. Overall, fiscal year to date, it was about a $7 million trend. And kind of looking at it year over year, in 2024, it was positive 276,000. Last year, when we were starting to deficit spend a little bit, it was 1.4. And then this year, as that full expiration of the levy fell off, we're kind of that $7 million bucket. So kind of looking at percentage-wise, from 2024, expenditures are about 11.25% up, comparison to last year, about 5.12. And then revenue decrease this year to last year in from a 2-year difference, we're about 6 million, and then over last year we're about 7.5. So, any questions so far? And then the last statement before we get into the reports is a statement that we do to track the 070 dollars. We began in 2023 with a transfer of $25 million. The next section is the interest that's been accumulated throughout the years by fiscal year. So far we've gained about 1.9 million. This year we had estimated about 500,000. Through December we had about 411, so we're going to exceed that. And then expenditures, what we have projects budgeted. You can kind of see them listed out when they were approved by the board. We have about $5.4 million worth of projects that have been approved, formally approved, with 21.6 available, which were committed at the last meeting, but they're not going to be here until they're actually approved by individually once the business manager brings them to board for consideration. And then year-to-date spend, or not year-to-date, but cumulative spend, we're about 21.6. We still have 115,000 in encumbrances, so about 21.4 available. So, and then so that's that statement. And then the next statement is just basic system reports. There's 3 of them. This one is called the cash position report. It's the cash position for each fund through the fiscal year. It shows the beginning cash, revenues, expenditures, and ending cash. And then the next 2 reports following are it's called the revenue report and the budget report for the funds. So just kind of wanted to show you how to read that report. And then I can get into the supplemental report real quick. And I'll go quickly over that as I touched on most of it during this report. So.
No, that's good, George. Thank you. I think we all need the refresher.
Thanks. Next is the financial report that you guys are used to seeing. Just kind of go over the highlights. So the month-end cash balance is of 41 million. As I stated earlier, it's down 8.7 from this time last year. Last December, 15.64%. Revenues, they're trending about 1.4 million or 1.72% higher than forecasted. The expenditure trend, we're about 1.3% lower, or 1.2 million, which is a net favorable impact of $2.7 million favorable. But our projected deficit spend down is still 9.5 million. and our projected ending cash balance is about $38.6 million, which is about 40% of our projected 2026 expenditures. And then looking at December revenues, December this year compared to December last year, actual revenues were down about 82,000. State revenues were actually up about 21,000. Other revenues were down, and it's a combination of this. In December is when we pay back the prior year advances. The prior year advance and the previous year was higher than this year because of the ESSER funds. So that's where that difference is. And then interest income was about $16,000 less. So that's where those two differences were. Revenues as a whole were about $3.3 million lower than last year, year to date in the fiscal year, and that's with the other half of the levy renewal coming off. Is the reason why we're lower, while state revenue is higher, and then other revenues are higher as well due to that one-time county reimbursement, also netted against some other decreases. And the TIFs were a little bit down, and interest income is about $175,000 down as well. So it's a positive 238, but it was mainly due to that one-time reimbursement from the county. That was unexpected. Expenditures compared to last December were about $147,000 higher. And then actual year-to-date, we're about $2.3 million higher, and that big portion is in salary and benefits of 1.8, and then purchase services is about $500,000 higher, which we've seen increases in utilities and then also in the special education outplacements as well. More students have been outplaced, which increased that cost. And then how's it comparing to the forecast? The forecast was done in August. We're 6 months into which was 2 months into the fiscal year. We're 6 months in. We're trending about $1.4 million higher in revenues. Again, that's $800,000 was from the county as one time, and then the state revenues is about $560,000 up. That's twofold. It's one for the performance bonus that we got due to the state report card, which was about $300,000 that was received after the forecast, and then also in December they release our actual transportation numbers based on our ridership reports, and that was about $200,000 higher than estimate. I had a conservative estimate in the forecast due to the change of mileage going into the year, so wasn't sure how that was going to shake out. So that was favorable, and then expenditures are about $1.2 million favorable, or 1.3, and although that may seem like a lot, think about if you spend $100, you're getting $1.30 back in change. So it's kind of where we should be. Next month, with the change of legislation, rather than approving the forecast in May, we'll have to approve the forecast in February, and it'll be used with data basically through December, early January data. So about 6-7 months of the fiscal year have gone past to kind of forecast that out, and then based on that, I look possibly do another kind of forecast update later in the fiscal year as well. But the February one will be the official one filed to ODE. So that concludes this section. Any questions?
Questions, comments?
Can we do both reports every meeting?
You can do whatever you want.
Speaking for the audience.
Thank you, George.
Yeah. All right, then the other two items that I have are grant approvals. We have a series of grants, mostly due to the break between meetings. The first one is an ODNR Step Outside grant for the middle school of $500. This kind of dates back years where the middle school had received a larger grant from the Ohio Department of Agriculture for the archery program that they have for the 8th grade. Every year, Mr. Martinelli applies for this $500 grant to replace the arrows that they use for that archery program. The next series is SCF grants, a series of them. There's a Sarar whiteboards for $700. The next one, the Strongsville Elementary Library books for $6,000. I kind of want to draw attention to that one. That was due to a generous donation from Jim and Cheryl Klinsing to the SEF. They were long-term community members. Cheryl was a teacher here for 20-plus years that they wanted to give something back to the district. And we connected them with the SEF and the athletic boosters. They have grandkids in the athletic program, so they wanted to give to both. So the family's been working with Aaron Green to do a program for the library. So they kind of use the SEF for to give the dollars, which SEF granted us the dollars. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, that's great.
And then the next two is $2,000 for a SHAPE American National Convention and Expo that I believe Nick Howard, physical education teacher from Soror, will be presenting at. That's to cover his costs there. And then the next one is it's under the Rademacher Miller SEF grant for Coach Koval to attend a clinic that they usually fund for him. And then the last item is amendments to the permanent appropriation. That is to account for all these grants that I just went over, and then there were some changes to the federal allocations that we received for ODE based on carryover and reallocations. And those changes are highlighted on the exhibit. And that concludes my report if there's any questions.
Questions or comments for George? Thank you,
Thanks.
George. All right, turn it over to you, Dr. Iba.
Thank you, Ms. Hausum. A number of items under my section. First, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the donation agreement between the Strongsville City School District and Serpentini Chevrolet be approved as listed in the exhibit.
This is an action item. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hafner, second by Mr. Wall. Dr. Iba, you want to explain what we're voting on?
Sure. So we, 10 years ago, we put, no, it was 11 years ago now. 11 years ago, we put turf on the high school stadium and the middle school, as Strongsville Middle School opened on that field. Those turf fields are projected to last about 10 years. We got 11 years out of them, and it is time to replace them. And so we go around, the athletic department and I, to look at different donation agreements to help support the funding. So the first project was completely funded by donation dollars. This project is completely funded by donation dollars. And so this donation agreement is for naming rights for Strongsville Middle School. So Strongsville Middle School is currently known as Serpentini Field. You'll see the sign on Pearl Road as well as over the scoreboard. This will continue the field to be named Serpentini Field for the next 10 years for the cash donation that's spelled out in the agreement with some other perks that they get through promotion from us as a school district, and that helps to go defer the cost or take care of the cost for turf replacement. So just to go back on what George's report just shared. So George is in his financial report said the field turf donation fund was at $1.179 million. The entire turf project for the high school and middle school is $1.123 million. So this is not using any general fund dollars. This is 100% with $4,000 left over, funded by donation agreements. The other thing that I will share in this, so as we take a look at these, it will be a complete replacement of the turf field at Strongsville Middle School. Because of the timing, the Serpentini logos will be in the field, which they're currently not there. And then the other part of it is, over the past 11 years, we branded the middle school field as our community field. It was open 24/7, and over the last 11 years, we've had a number of issues with it being open, from damage to vandalism to trash to track being damaged where it had to be repaired, to infighting between community groups that come to use it and haven't reserved it. So a part of this is taking the current fencing from 4 feet and making it 8 feet tall, and only allowing open access during certain hours. So this will restrict access slightly, but as you're taking a look at a $600,000 investment, it's an important thing to balance. People could still rent it, people could still use it, they just have to sign up for it, and then it will still be open during certain hours where people will be able to access it to walk the track or do other individual activities, but just not CrossFit with kettlebells, or I'm not making this up. We've had a person we had to remove that had a javelin that was practicing javelin throws on the turf field. So those are the things that we've had to deal with. And also, our Strongsville community has been very good about it, but we have a lot of groups because of the challenge of not a lot of turf fields. A lot of community groups outside of Strongsville come to use it as practice fields, and so we're trying to protect the investment this time around.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, be it resolved upon my recommendation that a donation agreement between the Strongsville City School District and Serpentini be approved as listed in the exhibit. This is for the high school field.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hafner, second by Mr. Wall. Any questions or comments about the high school?
So some of the additions that we're doing at the high school this year is we did have, there's a bunch of drainage underneath the field. In one of the end zones years ago, we had a drainage pipe collapse. We temporarily repaired it, but there is as you see in the contract, a part of that is fixing the drainage there. As well as we are putting footers in for two things. There'll be footers to have play clocks. So permanent play clocks, right now we have temporary ones that get wheeled out and get blown over a lot. So we'll have everything put in place to have permanent play clocks, as well as put permanent footers in there for netting. So for soccer, for lacrosse, if you go to some other fields, you'll see netting that goes behind the goals to keep the balls from going all over the place. So we'll have the footers there. Should in the future a booster group or the district want to purchase that netting, we've got everything in place. So those are the additional enhancements that we'll have for the high school field.
Thank you. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Motion passes.
So I would just like to thank Bob Serpentini and Janine Hine, who have been tremendous partners for so many years as a school district. They are just great to work with and truly care about the kids in our community. Those two agreements, I think it's important to call out, represent $560,000 in cash donations over a 10-year period, as well as between 10 to 20 vehicles that they'll donate that we could use to raise additional funds. So on average, the boosters have raised between $60,000 to $80,000 for one Chevy Equinox, Chevy Cruze. The donation agreement gives us the opportunity each year to either do two Chevy Equinox or a higher-end vehicle such as a Chevy Silverado. So if you add in the value that you're going to get out of those cars, that's a huge donation and a huge partnership. So we appreciate full Serpentini group, especially Bob and Janine.
Yeah. Thank you.
Moving on to number 3, another donation agreement. Be it resolved upon my recommendation that the donation agreement between Strongsville City School District and Southwest General be approved as listed in the exhibit.
Another action item. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
So this donation agreement, Southwest is another partner that's been with us for such a long time. They provide training services for, provide the trainers for our athletic program. So in addition to a $75,000 cash donation that they'll pay over the next 3 years, they take our trainer fee and significantly reduce it. One of the trainers, they completely cover the cost. The other trainer, we cover a portion of the cost, and the middle school trainer, we cover a portion of the cost, and the savings that they provide to the district is significant. So again, like the Serpentini agreement of cars and cash, this is training, athletic training services that they cover a good portion of the cost for us, as well as cash. And so what we're really excited about, the enhancement that we're going to make to the stadium, is as you walk in this year, or this coming fall, there will be a bleacher wrap around the bottom of the entire home side bleachers. So that will, I love our young students, but that's a high-traffic area for kids to play football through or run through. That will be all closed off. So there will be access through gates for boosters to go to get stuff. But that entire section from top to bottom will be bleacher wrapped with Strongsville green as well as Southwest logos. And then on the visiting fence line, that whole fence line will be Southwest as well. So it'll encapsulate that side of the stadium nicely.
Any questions, comments? George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Motion carries. Dr. Ibe, I just want to thank you. I know it takes time for you to develop these relationships, and you and the athletic department have done a really great job. And we're a blessed community that we have these partnerships with businesses that want to work with us.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Our pleasure. Next is a follow-up. If you remember when the board, we had an interview for who would be our communications firm for the bond project from a factual perspective, and an impact group was selected, and they're doing great work. It was also shared, hey, how can we kind of put these two ideas of impact group and AdCom, who also could help support communications outside of the bond project. So George and Dan and Jenny and I have been working with both groups. Moving on, we feel AdCom is going to be a strong partner to look at our outreach efforts in coordination with the great work Dan does as our communication coordinator, really targeting how do we reach that other 76%? How do we share the great work that we're doing with our community as a whole, and what metrics are we going to use to see if we're moving the needle to engage more people than we have? And so the recommendation is to enter into a contract with them. This contract is just for, work paid for work done. So it's an hourly rate of $115 an hour. We've got a meeting next week with AdCom and Jessica, who's our lead. We shared with them some insights of what we're looking for. They're going to come back with a proposal to start that work together. And so this is a consent calendar item, but wanted to give you some context, and if there's any questions about it before I move on, let me know. All right, and then the final item is just a revision to the agenda we just did, that the board education meeting dates, we need to move the Thursday, February 12th meeting to Monday, February 9th, and the location and time remain the same. Moving on to business services, we just talked about turf donation agreements. Well, it's time to approve or consider the recommendation of actually the projects to put the turf on those fields. So be it resolved upon my recommendation that the Board of Education accepts the proposal from Field Turf USA Incorporated for the turf replacement at Pat Catan Stadium not to exceed $531,444.60.
Do I have a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hafner, second by Mr. Wall. I don't think we need any more explanation unless anyone
What are
has
we
any
doing?
questions.
Now, what we'll work on after the board considers this and votes is then we will work on the staging and the timeline and the communication as to all of these projects going on.
Great, thank you. Can you take the roll?
Yep. Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And the next is the same project, but at the middle school. Be it resolved, the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education accepts the proposal from Field Turf USA Incorporated for the turf replacement at Serpentini Field not to exceed $592,914.87. Putting a fence, another 4-foot fence around the entire field is why you're seeing some of that price difference.
Do I have a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
And then
Motion.
finally, as a gift, as you know, the Strongsville Community Theater was generous enough to offer a donation to get a program at the middle school going, and they held their first production last year. So again, they're coming back with another $1,000 to be used for the Strongsville High School musical program to support that at the high school level. So the middle school program is doing well, and obviously their partnership with Jeremy has helped to support a great theater program at the high school. So we thank the Strongsville Community Theater Group. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole for the curriculum report for the month.
Hi, good evening. I have 4 items for your consideration. First off, it's really exciting for me to present our first 2 items, which are the program of studies for both our middle school and high school for the 26-27 school year, if you can believe that. We have some exciting new offerings thanks to the work of our teachers, department chairs, and especially Sean Collins, who worked on these for us. So for your consideration, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the program of studies for 26-27 for both the high school and the middle school be approved. And the last 2 items are involving student-teacher placement. One is an affiliation agreement with the University of Phoenix, and the second is a revision to a placement of a student teacher at the middle school through Baldwin Wallace. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Nothing under student services or technology, so Ryan's going to come up with the HR report for the month.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I have the following items in human resources for your consideration. Item 1, resignation, leadership. Item 2, separation agreement, leadership. Item 3, resignation, non-certificated. Item 4, retirement, certificated. Item 5, retirement, non-certificated. Item 6, appointments, non-certificated. Item 7, appointments, certificated substitutes. Item 8, appointments, non-certificated substitutes. Item 9, appointments, certificated athletic supplemental contracts. Item 9, or did I just say that? Item 10, appointment, non-certificated athletic supplemental contract. Item 11, changes in status, non-certificated. Item 12, substitute rates, non-certificated. Item 13, leaves of absence, leadership. Item 14, leaves of absence, certificated. Item 15, leaves of absence, non-certificated. Item 16, volunteers, chaperones. And item 17, volunteers, coaches.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
With that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Riba. We'll move on to our reports. First report is a report on Polaris Career Center. We had our first meeting of the year, January 13th, where we had the opportunity to tour the new Aero Wing, which stands for Engineering, Robotics, and Automation. It's a phenomenal space for future classes that registration is now open for. One takeaway for me personally was that our welding students were able to make the tables for one of the workspaces, giving them some pride and ownership in the new wing. The same day, I was able to attend the Strongsville Chamber of Commerce luncheon at Polaris as a chamber trustee. Polaris showcased 4 students, 3 who attend our high school and 1 who works in Strongsville. They are all working internships, carrying a full class load, and participating in extracurriculars. It was wonderful to see the collaboration between Polaris and our local businesses. When asked who inspired the students, one particular student pointed out our own Mrs. Erica Powell, who teaches U.S. history and AP government, and the student got a little bit emotional when she talked about how inspirational Mrs. Powell is. So I just wanted to give a shout out to her. There's a lot happening at Polaris. It's very exciting. You can follow along on their Facebook page to get updates, and they also are constantly sending mailings out to our houses. So pay attention because there's a lot of great things going on there. Next, we have a report on legislation. Eric?
I'm going to take it for Michelle and I. I have 3 things to kind of report out this time. One is around funding, one is around policy, one's more about curriculum, so it's a good mix of things. The first one is property tax reforms. A series of them was signed by Governor DeWine at the end of last year, including House Bill 186 that kind of stands out. It is a cap on local tax revenue. That growth is now targeted and capped to inflation rates rather than the assessment of the property itself. There's also a move to remove 200 districts from the 20 mil floor guarantee. As you can imagine, this leads to substantial losses for the operating fund for those particular districts. Strongsville, fortunately, is not one of those that's impacted by that. These changes are slated to go into effect March 20th of this year. And it just sort of exacerbates the sort of the funding instability and then just the rising costs that that George was sharing with us before. The second thing we'd like to point out, and Dr. Ryba had shared this with us in an email before, there is a new cell phone law in the state of Ohio. Most districts have a policy around this already, including Strongsville. But there's policies now have to be in place prohibiting student cell phone use during the instructional day. This means kind of during transitions and recesses. It's effective January 1st. There are exceptions for health and emergencies and improved educational needs. The policy committee believes that at this time our current policy is in alignment with what the law is stipulating. So no action there. The third one is an AI mandate. If you remember back to the summer, last summer, House Bill 96 had a lot of different things included in that particular bill. One of them was a year from then to come up with all school districts have to have an AI policy. And we've been waiting for the ODE to kind of come up with their guidance of what that would look like. And they've come through now with what their template is, and we have 6 months as a board to react to that and understand how we'll adjust our curriculum, and then offer also some policies and guidelines around artificial intelligence as that starts to become more of a thing embedded in our schools.
Thank you, Eric. Board liaison reports. City Council. Megan or Rich?
Thank you, Ms. Hausum. City Council just met this past Tuesday due to the federal holiday on Monday. Just a high-level overview of some of the things that were discussed. As I'm sure most of us know, Meyer did withdraw their application for the land across from Fieldstone Preserve. So that land is currently for sale. There have been a few bids put into the city. Nothing has been finalized yet. It is still going through the economic development process. There was a concern brought up by Councilwoman Kelly Kosick. First Energy has come out and has asked various cities throughout Northeast Ohio that when power outages occur to pass a legislation to extend that power outage time frame that they are expected to respond. Her recommendation was that we pass an opposition legislation that we want to maintain our current responsive period with First Energy to make sure that we can get power and electricity back up in the city. The mayor did also agree with that and also brought up that there are public safety concerns if we do pass some type of legislation expanding those response times due to our various assisted living facilities that we have in our elder community, and just making sure that they are getting the good city services that we all know and love here in the city of Strongsville. As far as economic development goes, they invited everybody to their next meeting on Monday, January 26th. So if anybody would like to go, you are more than welcome to. They are also looking at some fiber optic installers. So that's currently been referred to the Planning Commission, and they are discussing all different types of how we improve our cable lines underground, because we do have aging cable lines, and of course want to make sure that we are on top with the latest and greatest technology. As far as recreation, they did receive a donation from the community theater in the amount of $25,000, and they have their next meeting Monday, February 2nd, where they invited all of our community members, school board members, anybody who would like to come to sit in the audience and participate. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, Strongsville Education Foundation. Just want to thank them again for the numerous grant approvals that we saw on our agenda today. They do wonderful things for our students, and we appreciate them. Their next meeting is February 12th here at this building. Alyssa Hostler will be there to present on math programs, recent conferences that she attended with highlights, and how what she learned is being implemented. And we're looking forward to working with Amanda Donnellan, the new president for SEF, and continuing to see the great things that they do for our schools. That concludes my report. Strongsville PTA Council?
Yes, thank you. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be at this last meeting. I had a sick child at home, but I'm grateful to the friends that I have at that meeting at this point, so I can provide you an update. And I'm especially bummed, too, because it was Mrs. Young from Sarar, so that's my son's principal, and I missed her presentation. But she did come and talk about a new mentorship-type program. They're calling it the Mustang Mashup. at Sarar, where they're pairing students from different grades. So it's kindergarten, third, first, fourth, second, fifth. And they meet about once a month. And they work on different PBIS topics. The first one was respect. And all students are included, including we have moderate intensive units at Sarar, so those students are participating as well with some support. So it's a fantastic opportunity. Every student in the building gets to participate in this, build relationships, and also work on our PBIS and Pride subjects. So I'm excited to hear more about what's going on there. And it's funny because my son got paired with Maggie's son without, like we didn't know. And so it was pretty cool that, it's what happens at schools. So I'm looking forward to more drawings and pictures that come home from that. PTA is doing something new. They're adding 2 new positions to kind of focus on community outreach and engagement. So if you're interested in a position with PTA that goes out to different community events and things, this is going to be a council delegate at large. If you're interested in that kind of activity, please reach out to Katie Drake or someone who knows Katie Drake. She's everywhere. You'll find her, I promise. And thank you to those leaders who are thinking, as we are right now, about how do we engage the broader community. There's a Monsters game fundraiser on February 3rd. There are links on Facebook, and they'll be shared through PTA coming up here. It is $7 a ticket that the PTA gets back, and then this helps with grants and things that you'll see come throughout the year, and then scholarships as we approach the May timeframe. Also a good opportunity just to get together with other parents and students throughout the district. And if you haven't been to a Monsters game, they're a lot of fun. Even my son, who's not a sports fan, will go to a Monsters game because it's loud and raucous and fun and all those things. So please check it out. Founders Day is coming up. That's always a really nice event. Board members, you typically attend that. That's where we honor all the hard work the PTA members do. It is February 18th at 6 p.m. I believe that's held at the middle school. So they'll have the Ohio PTA Achievement Award, and this year's recipient will be Officer Aaron. So I know a lot of you know and support Officer Aaron and the great work he does with DARE in our school district. So that would be a great opportunity to come out and congratulate him. And then there'll be some other award winners also honored that night, but those announcements are still forthcoming. And then the next board meeting would be February 5th, 9:30 a.m. in this room. That concludes my report.
Thank you. OSBA Student Achievement. I know it says Michelle and Laura, but Megan had called me the day after our last meeting with some great ideas. So I think Megan has been working with Michelle, and hopefully we'll be up and running next month.
Yeah.
With that. Yeah, thank you. Southwest General Hospital. We have not heard about the annual meeting yet, but it's usually held in April. So we should be able to report on that after that. Board committee reports. Finance Committee. Megan and Rich.
No report right now. We have our first meeting of the year scheduled for February 3rd at 6:30 p.m. here at the Admin Building.
And then I will add, if anyone's interested, now that we passed the second resolution for the bond, I've invited our underwriter and municipal advisor to come to explain to the committee what the bond issuance process is like. So if anyone is interested in that, it's a public meeting, so
Thank you.
that will be one of the topics.
Thank you. Policy Committee. Michelle and Eric.
We haven't had a meeting yet, and I haven't gone, so I don't know when it's going
Sorry,
to
I was on the facilities in my head. So we'll have a meeting upcoming. They're usually in the spring, so March, April, and then we'll determine a time that's convenient for the committee members at that time. That's also a public meeting, so anyone who's really anxious to hear about our policies is welcome to attend.
Thank you. Facilities Committee. We are not meeting again until May 19th, 6:30 p.m. here in this building. The reason we are waiting is we're waiting to see what happens with our bond project. And most of those members are part of our Elementary Facilities Committee, so we are meeting very frequently as well there. So May 19th, and it's a public meeting as well. Business Advisory Council Committee. Megan and/or Eric?
Again, no report at this time. We do have our first meeting of the year, February 6th, 2026, 7:30 a.m. here at the admin building.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is our consent calendar. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of consent calendar at this point of the agenda means that all items appearing in this agenda denoted as type-action consent, which items constitute the consent calendar, are adopted by one single motion unless a member of the board or the superintendent requests that such items be removed from the consent calendar and voted upon separately. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Does anyone have anything that they would like to have removed from the agenda? Hearing none, George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes,
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
motion passes. Back over to Dr. Ryba for timely information.
Well, I'm going to save all of you from hearing my voice a little more, and Jenny's going to take it from me this time.
All right. So it's really exciting for me to see the three things we're going to highlight tonight, because one of our areas of focus this year through our district learning team is connecting the real world to our students' lives and making sure that learning is authentic. And I think all three of these examples really showcase that nicely. The first one is our Whitney fifth graders. They celebrated the end of their CKLA poetry unit. So it's really cool to see how CKLA has begun this year, and really teachers are starting to be really creative with the units. And you can just see from the pictures there, the students are just putting together so many different skills as they go through this. So it's just not about reading something or learning the poetry, but they're actually using their speaking skills, their communication skills, they're collaborating as well. So they read and analyzed poems by authors such as Robert Frost, Emily Dickinson, and Walt Whitman. They learned and identified different elements of the poetry, such as tones, similes, and metaphors and characterizations. And then they composed original poetry, so you can see how they're applying what they've learned into their own voice. And modeled after the poems, they studied and shared them, and they even had snacks at the cafe. So again, really connecting it to them by creating some original poetry. Next, we have middle school, sixth grade ELA students. They went on a little trip to visit at the Strongsville Library, and they were able to have the choice of selecting biography books about people who inspired them. They read and they took notes on these historical figures that made an impact, and then they were able to write informational essays highlighting key achievements. And I would love this part, focusing on a person that never gave up, which is really modeling resiliency, which is one of our Model Mustang competencies. Then they compiled all their research into personalized biography folders, and then they brought their stories to life by dressing up, building dioramas, and adding props, and creating their very own wax museum where they could each go around and hit a button, and they had to explain and talk like that historical figure. So again, just a lot of different skills built into one project. So kudos to them. And then finally, at the high school, very cool project by our SHS AP seminar students led by Mrs. Giamo, Mrs. Trow, and Mrs. Riblet. They've been actually meeting with residents at the Altenheim to create memory books. They've met 4 different times with the residents in person, and they've been documenting their family history, important events, and scanning pictures to be included in the keepsakes detailing their lives. This impactful service learning project has also provided the opportunity for our high school students to see and hear from a whole different generation, bringing history to life and preserving special memories. And I know there were a lot of people involved. We did a 60 seconds on it as well. And I think we even contacted some news stations to pick this up because it was just such a unique project. And again, connecting us not only with the community, but having our students understand how actions and things happen in the real world, and even if it's not in their generation, maybe there's some things that are still repeated. So, very cool. And then finally, we have...
Would you like to talk about this?
I can. I hear about it.
Is this a preview?
Why don't you talk about Model Mustang?
Okay. So, really excited to announce the Model Mustang Experience, Year 2. We're still working on kind of a theme for this year, but it will be held on Tuesday, March 31st from 6 to 8, and we're going to change location. Hopefully it won't be as snowy as that picture, but it'll be at the Strongsville Middle School, again on March 31st, looking to showcase Again, more real-world examples of how we're implementing that in the classroom, and even some cross-curriculum examples too will be the focus. But again, inviting our staff and our students to be the voices of this, and obviously all of our community will be invited to kind of share and see what's going on with our schools.
And then as I shared in my update this week, just wanted to give some guidance to families as they plan and make their decisions, how calls will be made. We're going to be going into a tough stretch of weather here with temperature-wise and the storm that's coming through this weekend, so next week will be dicey. But I just want to share with the board, because you get questions too, there's a difference between it being really cold and being dangerously cold. And so our criteria is from the National Weather Service. The National Weather Service says once you get to that -18 wind chill, it gets to be dangerously cold for, exposed skin for 30 minutes or less out, you're susceptible to frostbite. The range we use is 15 to 20. Hey, when it gets into that 15 to 20, so that gives us a buffer. So again, tomorrow is a day where in the morning it's going to be cold and it gets colder throughout the day. During dismissal time, based on the National Weather Service right now, it's only getting down to -11 or 12. That's really cold, but it's not in the dangerously cold section. It's not in the morning time. So right now, we'll see what the forecast looks like when I go home later on tonight. We'll see what the forecast looks like tomorrow. But I just want people to know that, there's already a buffer built into our 15 to 20 range, and so we're not close to that -15. So if temperatures hold at a -11 or 12, yes, that's really cold. But it's not dangerously cold, and we will be open for school tomorrow if those temperatures hold. If not, then people will get a late night or an early wake-up call. But that's a little insight on how the decisions are made. And that concludes timely information. Thank you, Jenny.
Welcome. Thank you. Next on the agenda, Board of Education Other. Do we have any others to report? No? I thought you were getting your phone out to report.
I would say, just because I had a meeting, I don't have my calendar up, but we've got the Athletic Boosters Night at the Races coming up in February.
No, January 31st.
End of January, right.
Yes, 31st.
So it's January 31st, next Saturday
Yes, thank you.
at Encore.
Yes.
And I think as we were told, there's like 20 tickets left.
Yes.
So it's almost sold out again, so it's a great event. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah.
You
The
got some more details you wanna
$25
share?
horses are all sold out. Like Dr. Rivas said, we're down to maybe 12.5 tickets left, and it looks like it's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Meeting notifications. A regular Board of Education meeting work session will be held Monday, February 9th, 2026, 6:30 p.m. here in this room. We have a special Board of Education meeting. A board retreat will be held Thursday, February 19th at 6:30 p.m. here in this room. Then we have a regular Board of Education meeting to be held Monday, February 23rd, 2026, 6:30 in this meeting room of the Admin Building, 18199 Cook Avenue. Next is executive session. We do have need for executive session.
To consider the employment and dismissal of a public employee, to discuss details relative to the security arrangements and emergency response protocols for the Board of Education, and to consider the investigation of charges or complaints against the student.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hafner, second by Mr. Wall. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Hafner?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
And Mrs. Hausum?
Yes. Motion carries. We will move into executive session approximately 8:35. We do not see a reason to come back and resume public session, so I want to wish everybody a good night and stay warm and safe this weekend.
And correction, we end the meeting in public session.
Yep, but sorry, we will come back out and end in public session. Thanks, George.